Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're well. So today we're going to start off probably a little mini series, maybe 2 or 3 streams on manipulation and how big powers have stepped in and they move the price of Bitcoin. They use things like bans, threats, regulation. So in this series, we're going to follow a pattern how China, Russia, and the USA have manipulated or moved the price of Bitcoin and helped end its bull runs. So for this first part, we're going to be looking at Russia because Russia is the quickest and easiest to explain. Okay, before we start, let's go on and quickly see who's in the chat. I think I might have started a little bit early, but it's fine. We've got Mike Volmug. Good day, Mike. I hope you're well. And we've got John Legend. 1 second. Let me see if I can. Oh, I'm not sure how to do it. I don't know how to change the mod thing. Hang on. No, I can't do it. I'll do it later. I'll do it later. We've got Black Hat Team. I hope you're well, Black Hat. And we have Rob C. Okay, I hope you're well. If you are watching, I know there's a couple of people watching. Do say hi in the chat. I'd love to call you out. Okay, let's go into today's session, if that makes sense. Okay, so we're going to be talking about 2022 now, and specifically January 2022. If we look back at the history of Bitcoin, what was 2022? Let's just discuss that first. So we had the parabolic bull run of 2021 where we had the 2 peaks. November 2021, we slid into a bear market. And then we're talking about January 2022. So the bear market has just begun. People have noticed that their NFTs have taken a massive hit. The price of Bitcoin has started to move down. I do apologize. I'll put that on silent. The price of Bitcoin had started to move down. And then in January, it's actually the 20th of January, the Bank of Russia released a report and it called for a blanket ban on the use of trading, using and mining cryptocurrencies in Russia, plus a ban on exchanges. Now, the markets read this obviously very negatively. A major mining region, Russia, is potentially going offline. Russia taking a very hard line against Bitcoin and other cryptos. And then on January 2021, a day later, Russia the price of Bitcoin drops to a 5-month low, which was a 7% decrease in one day. And it slid to, I think it was just below 40,000 US dollars. That movement overlapped the broader cryptocurrency space of the time with sell-offs, Fed tightening, tech stock dumps, but Russia clearly helped to add the FUD. Now I do have here a little. There we go. A little article here. Now, this was in the Reuters newspaper, and it's Russia proposes a ban on the use and mining of cryptocurrencies. And this was on the 21st of January 2022, and this was literally everywhere in all the major places, Twitter, everything. This was a massive thing. Let's see what happened. Sorry, I've got one screen and I've got too many things that I want to put up. So that was the initial ban, the initial announcement of the ban. Obviously, Bitcoin is volatile. The prices can easily drop 20 to 30% very quickly. You do need electricity, you need internet, you do need, oh, hang on, I think I'm on the wrong slide. There we go. Uh, so we had to wait until the 26th, 6 days later, when Putin publicly intervenes. So we had the ban come in, or we had speculation of the ban coming on the 20th of January. Then 5 or 6 later, on the 26th of January, Putin publicly intervenes, and he says that Russia has a competitive advantage in crypto mining, i.e., cheap electricity, skilled teams, etc. And it tells the government and the central bank to reach a consensus instead of simply banning crypto. The next day, on the 27th of January 2022, Russia, there was reports that Putin backed a plan to tax and regulate mining instead of a full market ban. Fast forward to the 9th of January, and Russia and the central banks agreed on a framework to regulate cryptocurrencies and treat them differently, but not legalized, not as legal assets. So what did we have here, and is this market manipulation? How did it affect the price of Bitcoin, and why did this occur? So let's first of all see if it was market manipulation. We had the central bank come out saying we're banning Bitcoin. The markets dump. Then Putin comes out and says, no, we're not banning Bitcoin. Let's just regulate it, reach a consensus. Russia has an advantage here. And the markets stabilize and they recover. Now, is that manipulation? Factually, the Russian officials' statement clearly moved the sentiment around Bitcoin. First with fear, with the ban, and then second with relief because of regulations. Can we call it market manipulation? We'll see in a second. Because there's a lot more to this story than meets the eye. What was Russia doing in the early part of 2022? That was literally just before it invaded Ukraine. So all of this needs to be taken into context. We're going to be talking about the mother of all sanctions here. So the phrase mother of all sanctions was used before the invasion as a warning. That was used on the 30th of January 2022. There was a US Senator, Bob something. He was the chair of the Senate for the Senate. It will come to me. The Senate Foreign Regulations Committee, and he warned that if Russia invaded Ukraine, it will face the mother of all bans, targeting major Chinese banks and sovereign debts. It was covered in the New York Post, all of the major media, including the UK media. In fact, we have a newspaper here which is highly regarded called The Guardian. And The Guardian reported that the US Senate panel was close to approving what has described as the mother of all sanctions bill. And again, that was framed as a deterrent before any full-scale invasion. And I think, let's just have a look at who as we do, I'll put it up. Here we go. This was one of the news articles that came out. Just have a quick look at who's in the chat. 1 second. Oh, we've got Mr. 60. How are you? I hope you're well. And we've got Axe. I hope you're well. Oh, thank you, Axe. I do actually need to get people to smash the likes. I really, really do. Because the like smashing is very, very low, and I don't call it out and I don't remind people, and that's probably on me. Oh, and thank you so much, Crypto Dude, for reposting the stream. Guys, if you're on X, could you please repost the stream? And could you please repost the stream so it just gets to a lot more people, if that makes sense. I don't have any sort of monetization. I haven't monetized the channel, and I do this all completely for you guys. And then Yeah. I also do have a Discord and also a Telegram. So do join them. There's a lot of alpha that's always been dropped in the Discord and the Telegram group. Okay, so we're talking about a lot of things that were happening in this short space of time across the US, EU, England, because we always get Europe, the UK, because we always get involved in anything which is absolutely terrible, and we can't look after our own sick and our disabled here, but we just tend to like get involved in everything. What they decided to do, and this was part of the mother of all sanctions, was to sanction Russia, sanction their banking system and their SWIFT. So major Russian banks would be cut off from SWIFT, and the global payment, which is basically the global payments messaging service, assets of all key banks would be frozen. Restrictions on raising capital in Western markets, global and the central bank and reserve will cut them off. The Russian central bank foreign exchange reserves held abroad would be frozen. That's hundreds of billions of US dollars. Sovereign debt and finances would be effective, and there will be bans on and severe restrictions on buying Russian sovereign debt, which is a massive, massive thing. They also said, a part of the mother of all sanctions, they will control exports from Russia. So Russia couldn't grow high tech and dual use goods, all the rest of it. They will tighten controls on the amount of technology that it can export, aerospace components, military use stuff, and all the rest of it. They will ban or they will cap on Russian oil and coal and imports into the UK. And I remember when this actually happened because our prices went up. And they will cap Russian oil prices. There were so many things that they had in this mother of all sanctions. There would be travel bans as well, freezing of assets on Putin himself, on the senior officials, the oligarchs, and hundreds of individuals and the elites. The UK, Europe, Russia, UK, US, and the EU, and others will close their airspace to Russia, and together they will justify this mother of all sanctions. They went after the money, they went after the banks, the central bank's reserves, the energy, they went after the technology and the elites all at once. This was unprecedented. This really, really was. Okay, so what you've got here, and I'll leave it up to you to see whether or not you think that they manipulated the price, because what I'm going to tell you next is going to be the reason why Russia did this. So 20th, they came out saying that they were going to ban Bitcoin, they were going to ban the mining, all the rest of it. The price of Bitcoin fell. Then Putin came out. Are you seriously telling me Putin and the Russian central bank don't communicate? That he had to learn about this through the media? I really seriously think not. And he said, look, we're at such an advantage where it comes to crypto and Bitcoin with all the resources that we had. We need to reach a consensus and we need to sort this out without banning everything. To which the central bank replied, yeah, let's just regulate it. We're just going to regulate it. Anyway, the price dropped. I think it was 7%. The price dropped literally in one day. So the price went down and they were picking up, I believe, a lot of Bitcoin on the cheap, because alongside that, they were looking to invade Ukraine. Now, they had something like 100,000 to 150,000 soldiers on the borders. They were not going to back off. Now, why were they going after Bitcoin? Why would they manipulate the price of Bitcoin? There's obviously several reasons why they will do that. The first and foremost is gold is not very easy to manipulate because the market cap of gold is really, really high. Oh, hi, Jesse. How are you? I hope you're well. And M Ninja, I'll shout you out in a little while. 1 second. So when it comes to war, Bitcoin is the number one asset to hold. Because it's borderless and it's easy to carry. And we've just read there, or we just heard how they were going to ban the money that individuals had, how they were going to freeze all the money that they had around the world. It's very difficult for a country to bring back billions of pounds back into its borders very, very quickly. And we already heard how they were not going to allow America to give out bonds and things like that, not service its debt. With Bitcoin, you don't need to carry physical Bitcoin. And this is absolutely massive. You just need to carry the information of Bitcoin, which is your seed phrase. You can cross borders with literally a million, even like billions of US dollars worth of Bitcoins. You don't have to cross borders with cash if you have Bitcoin. You definitely don't need gold. You don't need documents. You just need that 12 or 24 word phrase in your head or hidden somewhere. If you were to carry 6 million US dollars worth of gold, it's heavy. There's going to be loads of logistics. People are going to notice. It's going to be detectable by scanners. Even like a small amount of Bitcoin, gold would be discovered by scanners. All the rest of it, you have to often declare it at customs. If you carry cash, that can be confiscated. There are limits on how much you can legally take across the border. So they were so clever. And there's lots of other things as well. So if you to hold your own keys, i.e. in a hardware wallet or your seed phrase in your head, there is no bank, there is no freezing, there's no vault to raid, if that makes sense. A hostile government can freeze your banks, seize your cash, confiscate your gold. They can't reach into the Bitcoin network and move your coins without your private key. This is absolutely massive. Global liquidity that you can literally take anywhere. This is Bitcoin. Remember what we talked about the mother of all sanctions, the stuff that all the assets that they were going to confiscate or they were going to freeze. And then obviously if you're one of the elite or if you're an oligarchy or anything similar to that, if you're a person of interest, you will be stopped. It's going to be very difficult for you to travel anyway. But with Bitcoin, you can trade it 24/7 on exchanges all over the world. If you had to escape to another country, you can sell small amounts of Bitcoins for local currency, which is very important. You can send Bitcoin to people globally without asking any bank for permission, without using the Swiss service, without declaring it. Gold is not plug and play globally. You need a buyer. You often, you need somebody to verify that is gold. You need to carry it around. You need all the logistics. You need the security. It's slow and it's awkward. And it's not the same as having a wallet or a seed phrase. So gold is the gold of the past. Bitcoin is the digital gold. Again, in war, Bitcoin is easy to split. You can hold it in any amounts from a few pounds or a few US dollars to millions in one wallet or one seed phrase. You can send tiny fractions, i.e. one pound or $1 worth, or very, very large amounts in minutes. Gold and real estate doesn't scale like this. You can't do that. You can't sell 0.0003 off your house to pay for your food. Gold usually means that you're just going to get a terrible, fees. You can have fees put on that and all the rest of it. It's just going to take down the value of what you have. With your Bitcoin, you don't have to depend on a bank. And this is another thing. They actually went after the banks, which is absolutely fine. Obviously, Russia invaded Ukraine. It wasn't the other way around. I don't think any country should invade another country, blah, 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 blah. But the banks can go bankrupt. So if in your own country, so if in Russia the banks were to go bankrupt, they were to be sanctioned, they were to be frozen, you still had your Bitcoin because you had self-custody. Your government, if your government was to collapse, there was a coup, if it was to be taken over, all the rest of it, it's better to have your wealth in Bitcoin. And it's not like a company that can just fold. With bank deposits, bonds, and many traditional assets, you're trusting someone else to honor their promise. And in war, that promise can be broken literally overnight. Another thing that war does, Bitcoin is the best asset to hold in war. And that's why they manipulated, or I believe they manipulated the price. I shouldn't even say that because I think it's pretty obvious. You guys can figure that out yourself. But it's censorship, isn't it? On chain BT transactions, you don't need permission. They can't be easily blocked. If it gets to the blockchain, they can't block it. If one of the countries bans exchanges, you can still use the peer-to-peer markets. You can use exchanges in other countries and jurisdictions. Now, if you compare that to the international bank wires, they can be blocked very, very easily. And the sanction listed freezing funds. And they can just close your accounts so quickly. Another thing with war, so this is what they were facing. This was what his government, the oligarchy, the people who were running the country, the people who had money. This is what they were facing. They obviously wanted to invade Ukraine, but they were facing the mother of all sanctions. It's not neutral money that's controlled. I mean, it's neutral money that's controlled by no one, and definitely no state. So Bitcoin is not US money, it's not Russian money, it's not Chinese money, it's completely and utterly neutral, just like the internet. In a conflict where there's devaluation, there's sanctions, there's capital controls, a neutral-based asset becomes extremely valuable, and that's exactly what happened with Bitcoin. And they could not buy it. Actually, they could buy it at the price that it was, but by getting that FUD to go into the markets, they can get more of it. And then we'll see afterwards, there was a lot of chop afterwards. So maybe they were selling some of that Bitcoin. Who knows? Who knows? So again, in war, why did they turn to Bitcoin? They turned to Bitcoin because there's a fixed money supply. It is complete protection against debasement. That is what Bitcoin is. In wars, what do governments do? They print money to fund the wars. They impose capital control. They devaluate their own currency to pay debts. But Bitcoin's supply is fixed at 21 million. Over time, and I'm talking long term, that scarcity is a hedge against reckless money printing, against inflation, and that tends to inflation that tends to occur and situations like this. So can you see the amount of benefit that they were getting from Bitcoin? And this is why Bitcoin is the best performing asset in modern times, because we've had so much war and so much conflict. Before I go on, because there's quite a lot to get through, let's just quickly see who's in the chat. Oh, Dojeball is here. It's the first person I saw. I hope everyone's well. What is it? It's Tuesday. Oh my God. I was actually just saying to somebody in my community, I go, it's winter now and I absolutely hate it. Satoshi hates it so much. as well. He's literally upstairs, snuggle up in my bed. Oh, you've got snow where you are. Oh my God, I absolutely hate it. I hate snow. I really, really do. If I go somewhere, I want to go somewhere warm. Hello, M Ninja. I hope you're well. I'm gonna come back to this because this makes me happy. This makes me happy. Thank you for sharing the stream. I appreciate it. I do. And I know who shares it because I watch the accounts all the time. Oh, and Jessie. Hello, Jessie. I hope you're well. I love it when you guys talk to each other, and I absolutely love it when you guys say hi to each other as well. Dogeball. Thank you for leaving all your comments, Dogeball. I really do appreciate them. On the channel. Oh, Loose on Crypto. I hope you're well. Okay, awesome. So for anyone who's just joined, we're talking about market manipulation, but we're talking about it at a national level. I was going to do America, Russia, and China in this one stream, but I was literally just getting to Russia, and if I didn't explain Russia properly, oh, look at Jesse. Jesse's such a sweetheart. Isn't Jesse such a sweetheart? He really, really is. I love my mods. I really do. If I didn't explain Russia the way that I'm doing now, I don't think people would have understood it like it should really be understood. So they were dealing with a lot. Conflict was on the cards. They had 150,000 soldiers on the borders, and obviously their spies were aren't there? So they probably had their spies, and the spies probably told them beforehand, oh, what's its name? America's going to hit you with a mother of all sanctions, and they've probably been thinking, the Russians have probably been thinking, my goodness, we can't, how can we escape with our money, with our gold, with our property, with our wealth that we've built over decades? Because remember, the Russians are very, very patriotic. They really are. And they were like, okay, what can we do about all of this? And the Russians that are in the UK, they are big, like they are huge. They have lots and lots of money that they bring over from Russia. They're doing really, really well. They really are. And a lot of them own massive football clubs as well. So what they did was they fudded. And Bitcoin was already fudded because it was going into a market. But what they did was they fudded the Bitcoin and the narrative a little bit more, saying along the lines of, we're banning Bitcoin, blanket banning Bitcoin, end off. And it's coming from the central bank. That's absolutely massive. And that caused the price of Bitcoin to fall. In one day, it fell 7%. That's absolutely huge. Then they're stacking up on Bitcoin. They're stacking up on Bitcoin because 5 or 6 days later, Putin comes out on TV and he's like, oh, we're not banning Bitcoin. We should look into regulating it. I hope we'll get some regulation done. A couple of days later, they came out and they said, okay, yeah, we've reached a consensus. We're going to regulate Bitcoin. What they did before invading Ukraine was flood the market, buy Bitcoin, and then give the market hope and saying, look, we're actually not going to ban Bitcoin. And what you'll find is that this is actually textbook. This is textbook. So many other countries, especially China, which we'll probably go into next, because China has a massive history of doing it. China has done it like so many times. In all 3 of the bull runs, China has played a part on bringing in the bear market. And we'll look into all of the evidence of that as well. And then now we're talking about, we did speak about what the mother of all sanctions was, that they were literally, and they were sanctioning them everywhere, but they went after the money. in Russia, outside of Russia, however they could get the money, they went after it. On its imports, on its exports, they went after its technology, they went after its airspace. Russia had so much to lose invading Ukraine. But by that time, I think it was almost inevitable. I actually remember this time. I don't remember it so well, but when you know that a country's got 100,000 soldiers, or I think it was 150,000 soldiers on the borders, if you're in Ukraine, you know that the soldiers are there. You're going to run. The soldiers are coming. It was a very sad time for everyone who was affected. And now I'm going through the most beautiful thing about Bitcoin is how it's self-custody, but also it's the best asset to hold in war. So Bitcoin trades as well, which is very important. It trades 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, including weekends and holidays. Stock markets, they halt trading. They can shorten days. They can close completely in extreme circumstances or situations. FX markets can become extremely liquid. Bank branches can shut. Wealthy people or a wealthy person can move billions in bitcoins without anyone seeing a briefcase or a gold bar. But this is the beauty of Bitcoin because it's not just for the wealthy. Poor people can do it as well, or poorer people like me. No, I'm just joking. I'm just saying anyone can do it. I shouldn't be using that word. So yeah, I apologize for that. But basically, anyone can do it. Average Joe can do it as well. You can save in small amounts of Bitcoins, and I think that's absolutely beautiful. Stacking Satoshis, I really, really do. Especially if you're going to stack it for someone. If you have, I don't know, a grandchild, a niece, nephew, a son, daughter, or someone like that. I think it's beautiful. You can take it with you if you had to run. And this is very, very important. I mean, the people in Ukraine, they didn't know what was happening. They didn't know that soldiers were going to come. And, how long has it been as well? Prayers for them. Gosh. You can also rebuild your life elsewhere by having something that keeps its value. Obviously, Bitcoin. It's also a very fast settlement across borders. You can move value from a collapsed banking system to another country in minutes without SWIFT, without bank wires. It doesn't matter about the diplomatic relationships. Its speed can be the difference between being trapped in a dead currency or having the ability to use money abroad. And I think that's a beautiful part of Bitcoin. I really, really do. Okay, so we're probably going to end the stream a little bit earlier today. I'm just going to cover Russia. Just going to cover Russia because if I was to bring in the other countries, we wouldn't have been able to deep dive into Russia. The other countries, obviously, China was not facing a war, and nor was the United States. So this is quite exclusive to this live stream is quite exclusive to what happened in Russia. So if we recap on all of this, on the 20th of January 2022, the year that they invaded Ukraine, on the 20th of January, Russian central bank called for a total crypto ban, including mining. Bitcoin dumps to a 5-month low as the markets panic. Then a little bit later, Putin steps in. He talks about Russia's advantage in mining, which they had a lot of advantage. They had the space, they had the skilled people. He pushes for a ban. The sentiment recovers. In late January, as well, around about this time, in Washington, senators did warn Moscow that it will be facing the mother of all sanctions if it invaded Ukraine. All of this was all public. Then in February, Valentine's Day, 1st of February to the 24th of February, Russia recognized that part of this region in Ukraine was its, and it invaded. So that just like literally a month later. The West obviously responded with the massive sanctions, the SWIFT control, the central bank reserve implications that it had, major banks. It froze their assets, it confiscated assets. There was a lot of import and export controls. There was energy management, and obviously the oligarchs were sanctioned as well. And there was one, I think he owned the Chelsea Football Club, and I think they took away or they did something to the club, or they made him sell it or something similar to that, and they froze his assets. But what we do need to say here, because it wouldn't be a balanced stream if I didn't tell you the negative part of Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is not completely war-proof. So it is the best asset to hold in war, but it's not war-proof because it's incredibly volatile. The price can easily drop 20, 30% very, very quickly. You need electricity, you need the internet. There are workaways around it. You can, use your mobile phone data, you can use a satellite, all the rest of it, but mainly you do need electricity, you do need internet. If you do lose your seed phrase, your private keys, the coins are gone, no matter what, no matter if you had £10 or you had 10 billion, it doesn't matter, your coins are gone. The governments can still ban exchanges. You might be able to use a DEX, but they can still ban exchanges in their regions, etc. They can criminalize self-custody, and they can create legal risks. So even if they can't technically seize your coins on chain, they can make life difficult. So when you think about it, Putin intervenes. Everything that Russia was doing, what Russia was doing, and then what the outside Western world was doing, saying, look, we're going to give you the mother of all sanctions, all the rest of it. What was happening in the war with Ukraine, having all of its soldiers on the borders, huge amount of chaos. But yeah, that's literally what happened. That was Russia manipulating Bitcoin just before it invaded Ukraine. Now, I think around about that time, Bitcoin was about 40,000 US dollars. So it's, reach a high of, well over 100,000, if that makes sense. So yeah, and that was what, 3 years ago? It does well, doesn't it? The price is doing well. Okay. Just very quickly, let me just check the chat before we call it a day. Oh, so far, so far. Yeah, war's absolutely terrible. Yeah, absolutely terrible. It is. And then now, especially when you get to see what really happens in war and what soldiers are actually doing, it's absolutely awful. I know, this is so sad. Actually, one of my family members, so in my family, we do have a war past. So both of my grandparents were soldiers for the British. So they were British soldiers. They fought in World War II, both of them. When they came back, they were not right in the head. There was something wrong with them. I think it was like shell shock or whatever it is. But at that time, what they said is that none of their descendants, and this is both sides of them, literally said the same thing. They go, none of their descendants will ever be in the army or the navy or the air force, because if you ever sign up, you're actually signing up saying one day I might have to kill someone. And then obviously in the war and all the rest of it. And I don't even think it was their war to fight. Okay, awesome. Brilliant. So this is Russia. It's very, very obvious how they manipulated the price of Bitcoin. And we will talk about next week. We're having the collab with Bill Noble and Formation. Save the date, the 30th of November. We're having a Christmas special, which is going to be so fun. I'm so looking forward to it. And then until then, I'll see you all, guys. I'll see all of you later, and thank you for watching.